Mr. Samuels here today to answer the question, what is the scientific method? The scientific method is used to construct an accurate representation of the world. I highlight the word accurate because, contrary to popular belief, it can't really be used to prove anything. It just helps us get a better picture of the world around us. What are the steps in the scientific method? Well, there's lots of different versions of this, but the first one is usually observation. We're noticing something about the world. It could also be a question. For example, you may say, notice the sky is blue. Or you might ask the question, why is the sky blue? The next step is to come up with some sort of explanation for this. This is a hypothesis, and this has to be an explanation that we can test. After that, you test this hypothesis by performing an experiment. And this has to be something that's repeatable. If it's not, it's technically not science. Finally, we're going to analyze that experiment and come up with some conclusions. The conclusion compares those experimental results with the hypothesis. If the hypothesis supports that experiment, we may ask a new question or refine our hypothesis. But it's more useful when our hypothesis does not support is not supported by our experiment, because what we end up with is new information, something that surprises us. And in that case, what we do is we go back to more observations, data collection, or revising our hypothesis, coming up with a different explanation and testing that. So if this theory, if your hypothesis is supported by enough experiment, it could graduate to the level of theory, often referred to as a model. So it has the same form as a hypothesis, but now it's just got a lot more evidence to back it up. So when people say, I have a theory, they usually mean a hypothesis. Now, how do these differ from natural laws? There are a lot of ways people talked about the laws of nature, but in science, a law states something that happens. We can observe it repeatedly, but it's not trying to give an explanation as to why. Therefore, you can't actually turn a theory into a law, because they have a different purpose. A law stating what happens, a theory states why. Now, you're not going to be able to see the video here, but I'll put a link below. The last parts of the scientific method we need to mention are variables and controls. These are the key parts of the experiment. The variable is the thing you are trying to change, and the control is the parts of the experiment you don't want to change. What's really important is to have only one independent variable, one thing you are purposefully changing. And then you want to control for everything else. Keep everything else the same. Watch the videos in the link to get some more information on that and some examples. But I hope that gives you a good background for what the scientific method is and how it's used.